Good morning, gentlemen. I'm standing in my living room and have a wonderful painting at the back made by the famous artist Chetan of horses in motion. And now I'm going to talk of something which is very interesting and very dangerous. This is after the continuous attack by the Russians on Ukraine and the condition of the Western powers, including America. Now, I have been reading the Bible from when I was a young boy, when I went to a missionary school, and it mentions Armageddon. What is it? It means the last war between the good and the evil and the destruction of the world. So I have been wondering whether the Western powers, by instigating these conflicts, whether it is in Taiwan or whether it is in Afghanistan, Iraq and now Ukraine, are in fact signing their death warrant and are facing the Armageddon, the last battle for their destruction. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope. But history and the Bible cannot be obliterated, wiped out. There was a time in world history when the Western powers ruled the world. There was the British Empire, then there was the American hegemony. The French also had their own sphere of influence. They ruled Africa, India, China. I mean, you just think of it, they were everywhere. And that's something you can't deny. And that hangover hasn't gone. Despite World War II and the change of world politics, that hangover has not gone still. Now the situation is very bad. The conflict in Ukraine was instigated by the Americans. There's no doubt about the Anglo-Saxon powers. They wanted to create Russia as an enemy forever so that they could have their hegemony over Europe for the next 100 years. That is why in 1993, when Boris Yeltsin was president and he requested to join NATO, the Americans said, no, we don't want you. And they made a solemn promise that they would not expand NATO to the eastern countries of Europe. But within 6 years of that assurance, they went against it. They began to encircle Russia, brought in Poland, Bulgaria. Of course, these nations are of no consequence, but they were made members of NATO. The purpose was clear, to encircle Russia in Europe, isolate it, and finish it. Eisenhower had tried these tactics against the Russians and the Chinese when he had set up the military pacts against them, Baghdad Pact, Cento, Seattle. What happened to them? They've gone into the dustbin. End. The Baghdad Pact, which was in Baghdad, just ceased to exist when King Faisal and his entourage were shot dead in Baghdad, and the Prime Minister Nouri al-Said was lynched by the crowds. Americans haven't learnt anything. They protect the Shah of Iran, had to flee, and then the Americans backed away. They said to the Shah, don't come to America, you go anywhere else. And the poor man had nowhere to go, he went and died in Egypt. Now, by instigating the conflict in Ukraine, it's a different kettle of fish, because Russia is a very big power and holds the lifeline of gas and oil. The world at the moment runs on gas and oil, and that is creating havoc for these countries. They never thought it's going to happen. They thought they'll put an embargo on Russia, trade embargo, this thing, that thing, Russia will collapse. It has not happened. The Russians have taken about 20% of territory, and now they are reacting fiercely to the provocations of Ukraine. Missiles are raining on Ukraine, and Ukraine, I think, has to think twice what is to be done. I read a report that some American secret agents are going to come and defend Zelensky. If it is true, I think the most foolish thing the Americans can think of doing. including the British Special Services. Now let's look at these countries. France is the weakest link. There's a tremendous agitation on in France to leave NATO. They want to be part of it because they are running into inflation. There's a strike on. People want wages. They're interested in what's happening in Ukraine. Germany, it lost the Second World War, but now it's thinking it's to militarize again and dominate Europe. It's not going to do that. It will not be able to do that. They are running into problems. The North Sea pipeline carrying gas and oil is sabotaged. Fuel prices are rising. Inflation is rampant. And that's what is happening. America is in trouble. Joe Biden, to finance the war, has pumped in billions of dollars in weapons free of charge to Ukraine. And who's going to pay for it? The American people. And they are paying with more rising prices, inflation, gases. Look at England, the highest inflation for the last many decades. And trust, the British Prime Minister is confused. And people are shouting, bring Rishi Sunak back. There's so many things happening. All this shows that when you bite off more than you can chew, you're likely to get into trouble. I wonder if these people had ever studied Hindu philosophy. The Hindu god of wealth is Kuber, and even the coffers of Kuber got emptied. The Americans had surplus cash, surplus money. They thought they could win everything with that money. But finally, inflation and a debt of more than 4 trillion is staring America in the face. Armageddon in Bible didn't actually mean only a war, a physical war. It also means an insidious war. And this is what is happening. The West is in serious trouble, and the sooner they adjust to the reality, accept Russia, accept India. Now look at India. The American West has been trying, as the Indian Foreign Minister has recently made a statement, to prop up Pakistan against India. They've been doing that for the last 50 years, arming Pakistan, but Pakistan got defeated. It lost half its territory and now it's facing an insurrection in Balochistan. What are the West going to do about it? They had to run away from Afghanistan. They have destroyed by their actions Iraq and Syria and created a big battlefield there. A quagmire, a quicksand where everybody sinks. Vietnam, I don't think they can show their face there after the catastrophic defeat they suffered. The days when they could drop an atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and force the Japanese to surrender and then set up a tribunal to try the Japanese war criminals, the so-called war criminals, is over. You can't do that now. And as a historian, if I look at it, I'm neither pro-Russia nor pro-America. I'm pro-humanity. And it's about time people realize in the West that their days are coming to an end. I don't mean physically, I mean their economic days. They are facing the biggest danger in world history. And it's better that they realize that what they're doing is not something conducive for mankind. You can't have one rule for yourself and one for the others. Americans can intervene any way they feel like, and when any other country does it, you say it's aggression, human rights, this thing, that thing, you keep talking all that. I think in this entire pantheon of American presidents after 1945, from Truman to the present man, Joe Biden, the only man who looked sane to me, who had a grasp of reality, was Donald Trump. He realized that NATO was an obsolete organization. It is. And they are fostering it. It's got only one aim, and that aim is basically to perpetuate the American hegemony over Western Europe. And it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Because these countries are in serious problem. Spain is in problem economically. Italy is in big problem. They are not happy. And England is in the biggest problem of all time. The empire's gone. They had India earlier. They could loot India and take. They took about $30 trillion from India and made England. America is in serious trouble. They got race problems. They better bother about that. The blacks, they got all sorts of problems going on. White supremacy. And on top of it, the economic problems. And these are going to bring America down. What about the debt which America has incurred? It's going to be terrible. And once it happens, it will go down. No longer countries like Saudi Arabia, which you toe the American line, are yet ready to say, yes sir, 3 bags full. We may look into all this in a different perspective, That perspective is the clock of history. There was a time when India and China were the top wars of the world. Then came the Muslim empire, the Ottoman Empire, and then came the Western dominance of the world. But where the others peacefully relinquished their rights and went away, the Western powers are ready to do it. They are looking for devious methods where they can perpetuate their hegemony over the world. But history is nobody's friend, and that is what really matters. I hope, gentlemen, I'll close this video. I don't want to say anything more on this issue now at the moment. The fact remains that as far as the world is concerned, it's a very precarious situation as far as because of the war in Ukraine, instigated by the Americans. I've repeatedly said so many times, and I've brought out how the Americans brought in the war. But I'm now talking about the economy, and the economy is in dire straits both in the United States and England, France, Germany. Winter is going to be very, very bleak for the Western European countries, and they will realize that fighting aimless wars has got no meaning. I close now, gentlemen. I hope you like this short video. I like to call brass tacks. I like to talk something which is revolutionary. Yes, a lot of Americans have written to me, they don't like what I'm talking and writing. Sorry, this is the truth. I close now, gentlemen, and wish you all the best. And Jai Hind.